Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Preacher Girl podcast. My name is Rachel Arner, and I'm the host of this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much for giving it a listen. I really hope that this episode is an encouragement to you, brings joy to you, and I will be speaking from the heart. And it's my goal to just bring a little joy into your life. That's my hope. And I hope it's like we're sitting down for some coffee or just hanging out, sitting in the living room, whatever, just sitting down to chat, except for I can't really hear if you say anything. So that's kind of a bummer. But either way, I do hope that you enjoy this episode. I believe it's episode number 9, which is absolutely crazy. There's so much that has been going on these past couple weeks, so much I want to share with you guys. But more importantly, I want you to know that this episode is going to be what I think to be pretty relatable. Burnout? Has anyone ever experienced burnout? Yeah, so that's what today's episode is going to be about. How to know that you're burning out, or if you've burnt out, what to do, and how does the gospel play into that? What does the Bible say about that? And how can we grow together through this experience, right? Like, no one wants to actually burn out. But yeah, that's what today's episode is going to be about. So I really hope you enjoy it. So you guys, recently I was supposed to go work at summer camp. You probably saw my Instagram post. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please do so at Preacher Girl Podcast. Because those days where I don't upload an episode on here, I'm usually posting something on Instagram. You know how it is. So be sure to follow me on there. So I was supposed to go to camp this summer. I was supposed to work at the good old Timber Ridge camp. Woo woo, so great. Love that camp. A lot of my friends are going to work at camp this summer. It's a great ministry, great experience. I worked there last summer, as most of you know. I was a counselor. It was so, so fun. I absolutely loved it. And so I was supposed to, I've been planning on going there since January. It's been my plan. And oh my goodness, did God change my plans. So I've never experienced anything quite like this before. To a certain extent I have, but not to this level. Because in the first place, like, I was supposed to go to camp. I knew that it was a plan. I packed up everything, got in my car, drove to camp. I was at camp. And while I was there, I wasn't there very long, because I felt so strongly that God was telling me I needed to go home. Little disclaimer, nothing wrong with Timber Ridge Camp. It's a great place. You should definitely work there if you get the chance, or if you ever have kids, send your kids there. Like, it's seriously the best. But for whatever reason, God was calling me to come back home. So I did. I came back home. And honestly, I thought I was going to go back because all of the other staff hadn't gotten there yet. It was like the weekend, and they were supposed to be there in like 4 or 5 days. And so I was like, you know what? No problem. Like, God wanted me to come home. I'm home. All right, God, are we good now? Because, I can go back on Thursday. Not a problem. Really want to go back. But yet again, praying over and over. And I still felt very strongly that God was saying, nope, you're supposed to be home this summer. And I remember asking God, okay, but what about the money? Because I'm a broke college student, God, as you know. And I remember telling him, you know, it's always a miracle that I make it through another semester and get financially cleared because, I don't have any money. And I have one more semester. And so I'm telling God all these things, and I'm telling him, all these logical things, right? Well, God, like, if I work at camp, like, it's going to be, a good amount of money to help cover my last semester here at school. It just makes sense. They're going to Oshkosh. It's this big Pathfinder camporee, kind of similar to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, but in the Adventist church. And it's this big camporee. People from all around the world go to it. And I was like, God, I really want to go to the camporee and all these different things. And yet God was just impressing over and over and over again, Rachel, that's all great. That all makes sense. But I want you to be home this summer. And I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, but do you ever do this? Like, you hear like God or you feel impressed, it's not usually like this audible voice, right? At least for me, it's not. But you know in your heart, and you just know, right, that God wants you to be somewhere. And so I knew God wanted me to be at home, but I still kept like, I was like, but God, like my friend Emily, my friend Karen, my friend Angie, all my different friends, the people I love to hang out with, I only get to see them at camp. They're all still going to be there. We've been so excited to hang out over the summer, but God, why? And even that, God was like, sorry, you'll still see them. It's fine. You can go visit, but I want you to be home this summer. And so here I am at home recording this lovely episode in my bedroom at home. And I'm like, okay, I'm at home. All right, now what? Right? You ever do that? You listen, you hear God's voice, you feel impressed you're supposed to do something, you obey, you do what he wants you to do, and then it's like you're there and you're like, okay, but now what? Right? Because it's like you've been planning all this time. I've been planning 5, 6 months, however long it's been, to go to camp, gonna do this, it's gonna be a great summer. And now my plans are totally, changed, and I feel so at peace at home. I know I made the right decision. I don't know why God wants me to be at home, and I'll keep you updated. I will. If there's something that happens and I'm like, wow, God, that makes sense. That's why you wanted me at home. But, something tells me that I either will never know. Maybe he's protecting me from who knows what. I don't know. Something else tells me that maybe throughout the summer there will be little moments, small moments where I was like, wow, that was God, or, this is God. Something just really tells me very, very subtly and strongly at the same time that it might not be some big aha moment, right? It might not be some big, like, wow, God, it all makes sense now. Like, that's why I wasn't supposed to be at camp. That's why I'm home. Something tells me that that's not the case. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And this is my first time really experiencing this, so you're the first to hear, so that's exciting. um but I don't know if you've ever experienced something like this. If you have, seriously, I would love to know what it was for you, what you learned from it. I seriously would love to hear that. So whether you want to come on the podcast and talk about that, if you're up for that, or if you just want to, send me a message on Instagram and let me know what that was, it would be a huge encouragement to me, a huge blessing to me. And one step further, it would be really cool if you wanted to share that on here on the podcast for real. So let me know. But anyway, so that's kind of been the latest of what's been going on for me, what God has been sharing with me, and it's been quite the learning experience. It really has been. I was talking to my dad about this, and I don't know how much I should say or shouldn't say. It's not bad or anything, but we were talking about this, and I was telling him before I made the decision, of not working at camp this summer. He was telling me, when you feel like really stressed, when you feel anxious, when you're not at peace about something, you just really gotta trust. You gotta trust God. You gotta trust God. And my sister was telling me kind of similarly. Yeah, you gotta trust what the Lord is wanting you to do. You gotta trust your gut. You really gotta just believe that you're doing what you're supposed to do. Going where God is leading you. And yeah, so it's been really interesting, and I've been learning a lot, and it's still pretty recent, and I'm still planning on going to camp and visiting, and like it's always great, like being there. You have that place. I don't know what that place is for you, where you can go, and you'll feel welcomed, you'll feel loved, and you know people treat you right. It's really cool. It's a really cool experience. So, along those lines, I've been reading this book that my sister gave me, Joelle. Shout out to Joelle, best sister ever. And it's called, let me pick it up here. It's called Own Your Everyday. and it's by Jordan Lee Dooley. She just came out with this book recently, and the subtitle is "Overcome the Pressure to Prove and Show up for what you were made to do." I love the cover of the book too. Like it's just she has a really pretty smile. It's just really nice. Um, and I wanted to share something that stuck out to me with you guys. Funny, this chapter is actually called "Getting Unstuck." Wow, that's cool. So in this chapter, she titles a part of the chapter "Quit Operating in Extremes." And I can definitely relate to this. She says, "If I'm not careful, I can start to live in extremes." It's so true. And then she says here, "I eventually hit a wall and burn out because I'll never actually reach perfection." And I've definitely been there where you strive to, I don't know, for me, I don't strive to be perfect because, oh my goodness, I'm far from perfect. And I think that's what's so amazing about the gospel is that in our imperfection, Christ comes in and helps change us and mold us and help us to be more like Him. And we're made perfect through Christ. And that's what I love about the gospel. And here she's talking about when you hit a wall and when you burn out. And I think to myself, well, yeah, definitely. Like I've been there recently, especially. You hit a wall, you burn out, but then what? You hear God's voice, you're trying to do your best, you're doing what He wants you to do, but then what? It's like you're sitting there and you're trying to get unstuck, or you're trying to figure out what it is you're supposed to do in life, or what is it I'm supposed to do tomorrow. And she says here, well, if I can't be perfect, I'll swing in the opposite direction and quit trying. And that is so true too. I definitely do that. It's like you hit a wall, you burn out, and then you just stop, which is good because clearly you need to stop. Clearly you need to take a break. But to quit trying, to quit pursuing purpose, to quit pursuing a relationship with Christ, to just totally stop, that's not the best thing either. And so, in reading her book and through trying to figure this out in my own head, how is it that you're supposed to, what do you do when you burn out, you stop, you take a break, but then what? How do you not hit that other extreme of not even trying anymore? That extreme of just giving up, of saying, okay, I've done so much so fast. So much has been happening. I've been going to school, I've been working my butt off, I've been going, trying to, maybe you're trying to provide for your family. So stressful. Every day seems like, such a battle, such an uphill climb, right? And you're like, when will I actually get a break? When will I actually get a break? And that's when God comes in and He says, let me help you. Just stop for a second. Let me, first of all, come into your life. Surrender yourself to me. Let me help you. Getting unstuck, right? Not operating in those extremes. Getting unstuck. Jordan says, well, if I can't be perfect, I'll swing in the opposite direction and quit trying. How many of you can relate to that, right? And she goes on to say, that can be irresponsible. And that is so true. It can be very, irresponsible, and that's not good either. And so she gives a few pointers. She gives 3 pointers. And the first one says, don't just list your priorities, do what it takes to live them, right? Live out your priorities. Figure out what it is that's, important to you. What is it that you're passionate about? Or what is it that that you're supposed to do, that God is wanting you to do? What is that priority? And she throws out some questions here. What do I spend the most time and energy on? What is it that sparks something, inside of me that I just want to keep doing? How well, does this, add value to my life? What, she doesn't say that one here, but I just thought of that. How does this add value to my life? The second point she says over here, identify what drives your perfectionism and interrupt it. Identify what drives your perfectionism and interrupt it. Because no one's perfect, right? And so trying to be perfect all the time uses up so much energy. It's not good for you. If you're one of those people, I'm definitely one of those people. I'm always trying to be there for everyone. I'm always trying to, be my best for everyone. At the end of the day, I'm so spent, I'm so burnt out. Not to say that you shouldn't help other people, not to say that you shouldn't be there for other people, but Christ calls us to serve other people. But there comes a point where you need to take a minute, more than a minute, take a day, take a couple of days. It's different for everyone, but take the time that you need to recharge. Take the time that you need to replenish, your relationship with Christ. Take that time to recharge, because it's like you're never going to be perfect. You're going to have those good days and bad days. You're going to mess up, and that's life, right? That's life, we all know that. But Jordan is saying, interrupt that. What is it that you're trying so hard to do, trying to please people? If you're a people pleaser, what is it that you need to, chill out about? Who is it that you need to stop trying to please so hard, right? Figure that out and stop that. Interrupt that, stop that. Figure out what that is and interrupt it. The third point she makes here, and this is the last one, make a plan to overcome procrastination. I procrastinate all the time. For me, I procrastinate because I work well under pressure. So I like to put things off for school, or for work, or well, not work really, but for school especially. I like to put off these assignments, put off these essays, whatever, and I'll do them the night before, and it's not as good as it could be. You know the drill. You know how it works, right? We've all been there. But school or whatever that you procrastinate on, make a plan to overcome that procrastination. She says here, procrastination is a sign that I may be avoiding failure, and that indicates perfectionism. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. She goes on, she says, ask someone to hold you accountable to take this big step by a certain date. Give yourself a time frame. So she says, instead of just kicking around ideas or general to-dos, you should declare date-based attainable goals that will get done. My sister, she's really good at this. I admire it so much. She always has a schedule. She's always good at planning. She's always good at, making these goals, these time frames of when to do this, even if it's little things like, okay, I got to go to the post office. All right, I'm going to go at 3:00, whatever it is. But even big things, big dreams that you may have, you don't just, clearly they don't happen overnight, but it takes these little goals day by day, doing the little things. Even in the Bible, it says, being faithful in the little things and you'll be rewarded in bigger things. And so Christ wants to help you here too. He wants to help you achieve these small goals, so that you can reach your big goals, and especially so that you won't be burnt out, because if you try to do everything so fast and at once, you're going to burn out. And that's not good, because then if you're like me, you'll swing in the other extreme and you'll just stop, you'll just give up, you'll be like, I'm so tired, I can't do this anymore. And that's not good, right? So make a plan to overcome this procrastination and just set up these little goals. So Jordan says here at the end of the chapter, the bottom line, exchange pressure for purpose by prioritizing and giving your best to whatever is in front of you. I'm going to say that again. Exchange pressure for purpose by prioritizing and giving your best to whatever is in front of you. My sister shared something the other day on her Instagram, and it said something along the lines of love those who are right in front of you. And this might be kind of a little different direction than what I was just talking about, but I think it's important that, it's one thing, it's great. You should definitely chase your dreams. You should definitely set up these small goals to reach your big goals, and not procrastinate, and try not to get burnt out, this, that, and the other. But don't forget about the people that are around you. Don't forget about the people who raised you. Don't forget about the people who have been cheering you on all this time. Don't forget about the people who are right in front of you, your friends, your family, your parents, your siblings, whoever it may be. And I understand not everyone has a great relationship with certain people in their life. That's different for everyone. But I do think it's so important to not forget about those who have been with you through all this time in your life, right? And when you work so hard and you do burn out, don't forget about those people who do care for you and who do love you. Don't believe the lies that, the enemy puts in your head that no one cares about you, because that's not true. It's just not true. God loves you, and he has put people in your life who love you, and the enemy wants you to believe that these people don't love you. He wants you to believe that they don't care about you. He wants you to believe that they're too busy for you, but that's just not true. I'm sure you can think of at least one person in your life who would maybe not, I don't know, drop everything or whatever, but a phone call away, call up that person, say, hey, like, I need someone to listen to me right now. I'm just at the end of the line. Like, I'm so tired. I've been going, going, going. There's always that one person. So, call out to those people, ask for prayer, ask for the help that you need, reach out to people who can encourage you and give you that energy and be there for you. Because it's so, so helpful, because in this decision making process and praying of like, God, what is it that you want me to do this summer? Is it really true that you don't want me, where I've been planning to go this whole summer? My plans are changing. Is this really what you want? And I was feeling just so sick, and I was actually numb, physically, in my shoulders. And it was just this whole thing felt like I was nauseous, felt like I was going to vomit, this whole thing. And I remember texting a couple friends, and it was the best thing, just not hearing, but reading that text of them saying, hey, like, I'm here for you. Hey, it's going to be okay. Let me pray for you. Call if you need to, whatever it was, just hearing and knowing that there was someone who is there, who supports you. And I won't go into that. I'm so blessed with amazing parents and with an amazing sister and friends who care for me. And I know it's different for everyone. And so I just want you to know that if you need someone, if you need prayer, please, like, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Instagram is, the best way to reach me. Just send me a message on there. Just please know you're not alone. And when you burn out and when you feel like you've hit rock bottom, you feel like you just can't go anymore, please know that I'm here to support you and encourage you in the best way that I know how, even if we're just acquaintances. Just know that I support you. I do. And a lot of people do. So I didn't know this podcast was going to go in this direction, but it has, and I'm sure it has for a reason. And I'm really happy about it, because I know that there's someone who needs to hear this. And if that's you, please know that you are loved and that Jesus loves you so much. He really does. Don't forget about that. So, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. I know it was quite the whirlwind. We covered a lot. And I would love to hear if you have any ideas of what you want me to talk about, any certain topics or situations or advice. Just send me a DM. Say, hey, can you talk about this topic? Or, hey, can you answer this question? Or talk about this Bible verse? Or different things like that. I would love to do that for you, or try my best to do that for you. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Preacher Girl Podcast. Go ahead and find me on Facebook at Preacher Girl Podcast. Go ahead and like that as well. That's pretty much it. And don't forget to subscribe to iTunes and rate and leave a review if you would like. I would really appreciate that. That would help so much. Thank you guys. All right. Bye.